wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. This is Steve coming to you from the Stoa here in Conway, Arkansas, where the coronavirus is spiking wildly. I hope things are better at your current location. This week, we are going to hear from Epictetus. I always prefer to try to read more than one reading, but sometimes it's impossible. And yesterday, I had LASIK eye surgery, and so reading is kind of hard for me right now, but I need to get this episode out. So we're going to hear from Epictetus this week, but I think it's a good reading. Epictetus is going to kind of tell us two things. One, we need to teach our children in the ways of the world so that they can grow up. But secondly, we need to remember that in many ways, we ourselves are children. If we focus our lives learning biology, for example, like me, but not studying, car mechanics, I'm but a child when it comes to car mechanics. If I study philosophy and I ignore geology, then I am but a child in the ways of geology. If I study how to make money but ignore how to live a tranquil life, then I am but a child in the ways of philosophy. The Discourses of Epictetus. Chapter 29, Book 3, What is the condition of a common kind of man and of a philosopher? The first difference between a common person and a philosopher is this. The common person says, "Woe to me, for my little child, for my brother, for my father." The philosopher, if he shall ever be compelled to say, "Woe to me," stops and says, "But for myself." For nothing which is independent of the will can hinder or damage the will, and the will can only hinder or damage itself. If then we ourselves incline to this direction, so as, when we are unlucky, to blame ourselves, and to remember that nothing else is the cause of perturbation or loss of tranquillity except our own opinion, I swear to you, by all the gods, that we have made progress. But, in the present state of affairs, we have gone another way from the beginning. For example, while we were still children, the nurse, if we ever stumbled through want of care, did not chide us, but would beat the stone. But what did the stone do? Ought the stone to have moved on account of your child's folly? Again, if we find nothing to eat on coming out of the bath, the pedagogue never checks our appetite, but he flogs the cook. Man, did we make you the pedagogue of the cook and not of the child? Correct the child, improve him, and in this way, when we are grown up, we are like children. For he who is unmusical is a child in music. He who is without letters is a child in learning. He who is untaught is a child in life. So what in the heck is Epictetus talking about here? He's talking about, first of all, the untrained person will say, "Oh, I'm suffering because of something going on with my dad or my brother or my mother." And he says the philosopher will only suffer from things that they have done themselves, the errors they have made. They know that things are outside their power. And so while you may have concern for your brother and father, etc., they are not the things that are going to devastate you, to cause you to stew and ruminate and want to improve yourself. But the errors you have made in judgment will cause you to do that if you are a philosopher. And so he says, if we go back in time to when we were children, we can be trained in the wrong direction. If you are a child and you trip over a rock and your caregiver throws the rock or yells at the rock to make you feel better, you may think that thing out of your power did it on purpose, or it deserves punishment. And obviously that is nonsense. If you
finished a lesson, you're ready to eat lunch, and lunch wasn't ready, so your teacher beat your cook. That's not anything I've ever seen when I was in elementary school, but you will get the impression that that is okay, and that your hunger is more important than the safety of the cook, and that is also nonsense. And so as we grow up, we have to realize that so many of these things that perturb us are things that shouldn't perturb us. They are things that cause us angst and anxiety, and the only thing that should cause us angst and anxiety are the own failures of our own judgment. When we let things in that we should have kept out, we let in opinions and fears about things outside our power in. And once they're in, even the Stoics agree they can be very difficult, if not impossible, to get out. But if we keep them out, we don't let them in at all, then we have a much better chance of remaining calm, cool, and collected. And then he says, we're still children as we grow up. And in all the things in which we are unschooled, we are still like children. I mean, what is a child? Taking out developmental differences and things, they are uneducated in the ways of the world. They look to others for support. They look to others for learning to understand what is right and what is wrong in some cases, and how the world works. And if you are uneducated in some part of how the world works, you are like a child in that sense. And I think this is really important, because what do you do when a child doesn't understand something? Do you yell at them? Do you punish them? Hopefully not. And remember that you yourself are a child in many, many, many ways. You only know a little bit of stuff compared to the knowledge of the world, and then compare that to the knowledge of things we have no knowledge of as a species. We are but children. So when you make a mistake, especially in things that are outside the realm of the things you have studied, rather than beating yourself up, rather than punishing yourself, remember that you are a child and treat yourself with kindness. Now, if it's something you should have known better, then perhaps you need a timeout. You need to pause and reflect. Why did I make this error? What do I need to do to make up for it? And what do I need to do to ensure it does not happen again? In many ways, we are a child. And so hopefully we can teach our own children the right way to live. When they trip over a rock, you say, well, you got to watch where you're going, or maybe just simply say, blame no one, as the Stoics say, well, sometimes these things happen. If they are hungry, you can say, well, supper's in an hour. You'll have to live with it, rather than saying, oh no, I'm sorry, I should have cooked food sooner. Maybe you can learn to tolerate hunger for an hour. That's good for you. And then when it comes to ourselves, we need to show ourselves compassion in the way that we treat ourselves, punish ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves about our actions. Oh, why did I make that choice? Well, it's because we weren't educated in that field. We did the best we could. So practice a little self-compassion. Remember, in most of the ways of the world, we are but children. And we can learn, we can improve, but we need to treat ourselves with a little bit of compassion. All right. Thank you, patrons, for keeping the show going. You can check it out. Check out supporting the show at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Otherwise, you can shoot me an email at sundaystoic@gmail.com. Seize the day, everybody. Stay safe and healthy. Carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to The Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review The Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com. And as Steve always says, carpe diem.